What's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster back here on this beautiful, what is it, Tuesday night, January 10th, 2023. It's about 9:30 p.m. here along the West Coast in California. We're still got quite a bit of rain coming in. A little break in my area right now, but some storms around the Sacramento area, getting some pretty good rainfall in that region. 1.5 earthquake, the latest there into the California area. Southern California, showing some activity there on the map. All right, we're going to start off here with the space weather activity. Really ramping up. A lot of red listed up here on this map here, on this webpage, solarham.net. Really cool site to check out the most recent space weather activity and forecast there on the 3-day geomagnetic graph. Okay, so 3182, 3181, 3184, 3186. A lot of these are in the red because they harbor a lot of instability with their magnetic fields, their magnetic structure that these sunspots harbor. And right now, there's an overall threat here of a 30% chance of an X flare. Now, we've already seen one earlier today, an X 1.0. Prior to that, we've seen one yesterday, X 1.9, I believe it was, X 1.9, from 3184. And a lot of other M flares kicking off here onto the graph. It's really crackling and popping with C and M flares, and I think it's just a matter of time before we see a really strong X flare. Again, 30% chance for that. I think the most likelihood of the sunspot, that could be the troublesome one. Well, there's at least 4 of them right here, right now. But if I had to choose which one's going to be the bad boy or the culprit, I think it potentially could be this one up here. It's already produced an X 1.0. These are massive sunspots here, but they're starting to decay a little bit in terms of their magnetic structure. But still watching them potentially for some further X flares. And these 3 here are, well, at least we got 3182 directly aimed at Earth right now. So anything that does shoot off or eject from the solar flare, say a CME, would be produced. It'd be directed at Earth completely. So we'll keep an eye on these sunspots here. 3185, 3187, a couple little wimpy sunspots up here that don't really harbor too much threat. But these 4 right here, got to watch those pretty closely. It looks like there's another sunspot here on the southeastern limb of the sun. So things are getting very active. And just a quick glance here at the cycle 25 progression chart. We show this on occasion. This was updated on the 6th. Now the red line here is indicative of the predicted number of sunspots. Sunspot number progression, and we'll peak out roughly around July 2025 for the maximum area for this solar cycle, and then we'll start to decline a little bit. Same for down here. This is the solar flux progression. Now notice here off to the left, these graphs here are our current sunspot number progression, and we're starting to get way above here. We should be at least forecasted, that's what they predicted, down here around this level. But we're like technically almost double what they were predicted. Here's a predicted SSN number, sunspot progression number, which is 60. Actual is 113, it looks like. 113 that's being recorded. And down here for the predicted SFI, which is the solar flux progression, looks like it was predicted around 98. The actual is 148 here. So things are, way ahead of schedule, so to speak. So I'm kind of curious to see what this will bring about as we head into 2025, the maximum level, expected level there for solar cycle 25. But for now, a whole lot of activity kicking up here, folks. Not a whole lot here on the 3-day geomagnetic forecast. There's a little bit of unsettled conditions here with auroras up at the higher latitudes. Not really expecting any major activity there for the auroras. Just a little bit of unsettled conditions here. And looking at the real-time solar wind chart, A little bit of southward tilt with the BZ component here, allowing some solar wind stream to flow in. But as you can see, the rest of the graph and the density, speed, and temp all fairly neutral and actually somewhat average. So no major solar weather event happening currently with that department. All right, earthquake activity. There is some activity in Southern Cal kicking off here around the Pomona area. Looks like outside of the Rancho Cucamonga region as well. Had some tornado warnings down here into the southern portion of the state. Pretty crazy, right? A little rare. But we did have a lot of instability off the coast and a lot of rainfall kicking in here over the last 24 hours. But earthquake activity, mostly small microquakes here in Southern Cal. And let me bring back the 2.5 map and above. A little more amplified up here north into, we got one right off the San Andreas Fault, 3.1. Earlier this afternoon near the San Juan Bautista area, 5.8 kilometers deep for that earthquake. Also a couple small, 2.6, and also an earthquake down south here, 3.2 near Porterville from earlier today, right up against the eastern edge, or the western edge of the Sierra Nevada mountains. One earthquake here near the San Leandro area from last night, and up here into the Cobb Mountain region, a 2.7 coming in just earlier this afternoon time period. Now the Cobb Mountain region is a very active area in terms of earthquakes, and there's a lot going on there below the surface, and humans have found a way to create energy by injecting raw sewage in below the surface. I don't know. I don't even like saying that. It's just kind of sickening. There is some hydrothermal operations out here. There's numerous of them, of those plants all throughout this area. And, they got their process. And that's what they do, and that's what these earthquakes are being contributing to their process. There's a whole method behind their madness, but not going to go into that completely tonight. All right, McKinleyville. That earthquake here from this morning, a 3.6. Since then, we got one further earthquake east here near the Shasta Lake region, a 2.4, 17 kilometers deep. Let's give a quick glance here of the Cascadia tremor. And we're looking at, pretty big uptick up here into the Vancouver Island range, 325 epicenters of tremor. That is not earthquake activity, but slow slip events occurring down into the Cascadia subduction zone, and ultimately adding stress and built-up strain along that locked area for the next potential 9.0 here in the Pacific Northwest. A little bit of activity down around the Medford area and also Northern California as well. So the southern end of the Cascadia seeing a little bit of activity ramping up as well. And that could be explaining these surface ruptures and the little bit of activity upstream of the tremor that's taken place there in Northern California today. All right, let's see what else we got. Salt Lake City, the Great Salt Lake City area, 2.8. What is that, Hennifer? Hopefully that's correct. Off 65 here, a 2.8 coming in within the last hour at 7.5 kilometers deep. Not for sure what we have out there, but, a couple creeks, however you want to pronounce it. Looks like maybe around a dirt road or so. Not really seen any major suspicious activity out there. There's a major fault system, of course, that occurs to the west here up against this mountain range. But yeah, it's mountains. They do have earthquakes on occasion up there. Yellowstone National Park, nothing showing up there. So for fun, let's double check that and make sure that we're being fed the right information out here. A little bit of earthquake activity here within the last couple hours. Now, I'm not for certain what all of this noise is going on out here. I don't know if there's thunderstorms kicking up out into the Wyoming area or not. It kind of looks like something that we would see during the summertime. A lot of that noise not necessarily showing up. Well, I guess they're kind of showing up on other stations locally. Let me check something real quick here, folks. Let me check the weather conditions out there into the area. Rain accumulation, well, hold on a second here. What do we got? Rain accumulation. That's all snow. I don't think there can be thunderstorms up there. So I'm not 100% certain what that noise is. Some type of environmental noise out there. Nothing big, but it is kind of questionable as to what's going on up there in the northwest corner. Nothing showing up here on the earthquake map. All right, no further activity across the rest of the country. The last one was a 2.5 western Texas, outside of Pecos, Texas area. The majority of this earthquake activity here from much earlier and last night. No further movement across the eastern portion of the country. Into the Puerto Rico area, one earthquake here early this morning, a 4.1 in the Dominican Republic region. Also some activity spreading out across the Puerto Rico area and the north of the British Virgin Islands as well. South America region, look at this earthquake here. I can almost tell this one was going to be super deep. I seen it from up north, or at least when I was browsing down south here. Well inland, well away from the plate boundary, and I knew this was going to be a deep earthquake. Super deep earthquake, 576 kilometers deep into the Peru-Chile Trench, underneath all of this landmass here. That is a super deep earthquake for this area. Let's see what we got. 4.9. Looking at the data here. Now, if we go back here since about 1900 or so, definitely seen some deeper earthquake activity here historically. And some larger ones as well. Looks like maybe 6.0 to 7.0 earthquakes in this area historically. And these are some of the deeper earthquakes that run underneath the South America area into the Peru-Chile Trench. Some of these, look at that, 7.0, 8.0 earthquake here, deeper than 300 kilometers. But that one there is 576 kilometers deep. It has been reviewed by a seismologist for that 4.9, well underneath Argentina into the Peru-Chile Trench. So we'll watch this. Something's brewing here around the Peru-Chile Trench. Up here into the Alaska region, was watching for some activity here around the Aleutian Trench, but we haven't really seen any further large-scale movement. Just a couple small microquakes stretching across this area of the Alaska region. The latest earthquake here shows a 3.7, about 51 kilometers deep into the subduction level. All right, Big Island of Hawaii. Most of the activity here confined to the Pahala area. Here around the western side of the Big Island at 2.7. That one coming in last night. No major changes are noted across the volcanoes currently. Of course, Kilauea volcano still continuing, and questionable activity there. Looks like they may be forming a new that volcano may be forming a new lake on top of the old lava lake. Kind of crazy, right? Mariana Trench seen an earthquake this morning of 4.8. Far as new activity goes here in this area, well, the last one was a 4.3, 10 kilometers deep here. New Zealand not showing much here across the area. Now, I do know they had some earthquake activity. I got a couple notifications here. A 3.4, a relatively shallow here around the South Island area, and a 3.2, relatively deep north of the North Island region. So let's go ahead and check out the activity from the GeoNet folks here. Excuse me. And see what's going on. There's that 3.4 coming in. South Island about 5 kilometers deep. Now, let's see where the other one is. Where is it? What was it? Let's see. We're looking at a 3.2. Relatively, it looks like it's recent. Let's see what we got here. Excuse me. 3.2 off the east coast of North Island, New Zealand. 200 kilometers deep. And that one coming in looks like about 0521 UTC time, which puts it at about, well, recent, roughly within about 15 minutes or so ago, because, well, maybe a little bit more, half an hour. No, I'll take that back. Okay, 15 minutes ago. UTC times can be a little concerning, but or a little confusing, but the current UTC time looks to be about 0544, and this was 0521, about 20 minutes ago. Either way, a deep earthquake. It may be into the Kermadec Trench area, or potentially, yeah, it looks like it's around the Kermadec Trench here, where that earthquake struck. Now, not really showing up here across the GeoNet servers. Now, let me go to the all magnitudes here. And 20 minutes ago, 23 minutes ago, 3.3. That's it. So, unnoticeable earthquake, but still an earthquake that should be listed. And they're reporting 199 kilometers deep for that. So, a little bit of activity in New Zealand, but not a lot. Definitely not a lot at all. No major swarms going on here across the area. Yesterday there was a little bit of activity across New Zealand, but it looks like, as far as this reading goes, but it looks like for the most part over the last 12 hours, 18 hours or so, very quiet in terms of earthquake activity. All right, further west across the region, got the latest earthquake around, is that Gabon? Gotta be. It's way down here. I had to look on the map where, I don't even know where that's at. Very close to the equator. 4.6 coming in this afternoon, about 10 kilometers deep. And, what do we got out there? Let's go ahead and check. Not a whole lot of historical data kicking up here across the area. Now, we go back since about 1900 or so, 4.5 and above. Looks to be about the only earthquake of that size within this region as far as historical data goes. Not a whole lot. Intraplate earthquake out there for sure. All right, Atlantic Ocean, very quiet. Definitely not a whole bunch going on across that area. Earthquakes Canada. Let me check these guys out here and see what we got. Looks like a little bit of activity around the northern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. It's going to be up here off the coast, well north of the Vancouver Island range. So it's down here. West of the Queen Charlotte Sound region. A little bit of activity kicking up here over the last day, 3.3. Near Bella Bella, BC region. That was coming in, looks like today's time frame. And a couple other earthquakes within this vicinity of the Cascadia over the last couple days. Some threes kicking off here. Again, no major movement kicking off, but a little bit of activity. All right, weather activity here along the West Coast. I know we've been covering that a lot, and it's kind of a big deal. We've had a wet winter so far here in California. And wait a minute, I think let's check the California drought map. I'm pretty certain that they put this out on a Tuesday. Drought map of California. Let's check it out. I'm kind of curious to see what's going on. U.S. Drought Monitor. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, let's see. This was put out, map released Thursday, January 5th. Data valid about January 3rd. So really hasn't accounted for the last week of rainfall, and we've gotten a lot of rainfall since then. So this kind of shows us still within the extreme drought, which I don't necessarily believe that right now. But that's what it's showing. We'll probably have to look maybe next week and see if they put out an update here for this drought map. Now, the latest GFS model here on the West Coast, California, Nevada, of course, and further storms coming in off of the Pacific. There's our big storm coming in tomorrow. It's supposed to bring upwards of about an inch or so here around the Chico region. And I really wish that this brunt of the moisture was a little bit further inland, but that high pressure, this one right here, is going to be a troublemaker and going to attempt to push off this storm track here. But as you see, it kind of comes back in, the rain does, and there's a good system on the weekend, it looks like, bringing in some much further rainfall. Again on Monday and Tuesday, and in the Wednesday and Thursday, another storm system, and that's when things get a little on the sketchy side for further rainfall. Notice high pressure is building back in across Northern California, but wow. Okay, this is it's kind of crazy. These weather models, it's sometimes they're accurate, sometimes they're not. And this far out is questionable because this has changed literally like 3 or 4 times this far out, about the 20th of January. And last night, I think even this morning as well, it did not show the storm system here knocking on California's door. It showed high pressure off here to the east in the Great Basin area, pushing the storm track way up north. But now it's showing that there is another storm system coming in around the 21st. Fairly nice low pressure system. A lot of cold air bringing in snow. And then after that, a huge plunge of cold air coming in back behind that low pressure system. You see that dropping down out to the north, bringing in a lot of snow for Nevada, and a lot of cold air here in California as well, I'm sure. Look at that. Not too often do we see storm systems dropping directly out of the north here into the California and Nevada area. So that's kind of interesting there. And then after that, it looks like we're seeing a return of rainfall from the Pacific. So take that with a grain of salt. Most of these weather models are fairly accurate. Oh, I would say up to about 3 days out, 4 days out. Once you get past that, then it's questionable. But as long as these models stay in agreement for the most part, then they're, it's not 100% accurate, but it just gotta, again, like I say, take it with a grain of salt. But either way, it looks like we got more rain, a lot more rain coming in here to the area. Now, I do want to do a precipitation accumulation here, total accumulated precipitation. Today, we didn't really pick up here too much in Northern California. We did pick up overnight, I should say, roughly about 4 or 5 in the morning. I heard some heavy rain. Picked up about 6/10 of an inch of rain here in my place, just outside of Chico. Of course, other areas receive more. But we're going to scoot this into view here and run into about the 19th or 20th. Well, this actually goes pretty far, up to about the 23rd time frame. And we're still expecting quite a bit here of precipitation in Northern California. And this is on top of what we already have received. Eureka area getting in over a foot of rainfall. Foothill areas as well. Now here in Northern California, kind of hard to tell. Colusa County, Glenn County, looks like we may be in the dark purple. So roughly about 6 inches or so out to about the 22nd of January. So 6 inches on top of what we already received is, oh man, that's like a sponge out here. We're soaking it up, but also at the same time not having much time to dry out. So much more rainfall coming into the area. We'll definitely keep an eye on that. Either way, it's beneficial, let me tell you. Very beneficial. And the best thing to do is be prepared in flood-prone areas. I was out driving around the Sacramento River today, taking some back roads, and there's so much flooded areas out there along the Sacramento River around the Butte City region. Butte City kind of sits here north of Colusa, just outside of Willows. There's a bridge construction going on here, and there's so much debris kicking off here into this new bridge area of the Sacramento River. And the old one was fine. I don't know why they have to get rid of it, but it's a huge project. And at the same time, they're using these huge cranes and tractors and whatnot to remove all this debris that's built up on their what's a little construction area here to help build portions of the bridge. And there's just a lot of debris. It was attempting to stop the Sacramento River. It's not going to stop it, but all that debris was building up and putting a lot of strain on this area of the new bridge region. And it's crazy. But anyway, I drove up along this road. It doesn't show right here. Well, let's see. What do we got? County Road. There's another road that runs directly along the Sacramento River here. It's pretty cool to see. But all this area right here is pretty much flooded. But we need it. We need that rainfall, right? That is for certain. Let's see what we got for the GOES imagery out here along the west coast. Let's go here through the animation loops here across the geo color imagery. A lot of, look at that lightning out there. A lot of, and of course Northern California seeing that as well. Looks like around Woodland area seeing a lot of lightning, Arbuckle. But this massive low pressure system out here, I wish that was I wish that was right about here, circling in, bringing up tons of moisture. But either way, that's going to do the job. I'm going to bring further moisture into Northern California here over the next few days. But it's been a wet one here along the west coast. All right, let's see what else we got here. A real quick check here of the space weather, because these things, looks like we're getting another flare right now with that D-layer map here, the blackout. Looks like maybe a little bit of C flare, maybe an M flare kicking up here. We'll have to watch that. Looks like could be potentially from this one. One of the most recent images here show this sunspot flaring up a little bit. Like I said, watch all four of these. They do harbor a potential for X flare. And this massive one right here, it's in position to produce a pretty significant solar flare, and Earth directed at best. All right, folks, have a good night. Stay safe out there. We will chat at you guys a little bit later on. No major wind events expected here, so the stream should be up, functionable, and should stay pretty steady here for the foreseeable future. Have a good night, everyone. Stay safe.